New 2020 laws. Effective January 1, 2020. SB 485, Bell, CH. 505, Stats. 2019. This law repeals provisions that authorize or require courts to suspend, revoke, or restrict a driver, or order the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, to delay licensure for a person convicted of prostitution or vandalism, a minor convicted of unlawful possession or use of a firearm, or offenses related to possession, purchase, sale, or transport of controlled substances involving the use of a vehicle. The law also prohibits courts from ordering DMV to delay licensure, suspend, revoke, or restrict a person based upon a conviction of minor's possession/use of controlled substances or alcohol for specified violations. Of 2918, Holden, ch. 723, Stats. 2018. This law requires the DMV to include information in the California Driver Handbook regarding a person's civil rights during a traffic stop, including the right to file a complaint against a peace officer, as specified. The following information was developed by the Civil Rights Section of the Department of Justice in consultation with DMV, the California Highway Patrol, the Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, and civil rights organizations. Your rights during an enforcement stop. If an officer asks your permission to do something, you have a right to say no. However, if you say no and the officer says they are going to do it anyway, you do not have a right to interfere with their actions. For example, an officer may request to search part or all of your vehicle. You have a right to decline that request, but the officer may have the legal authority to search your vehicle anyway under certain circumstances. If you do not want the officer to search your vehicle, you should clearly say that you do not give your permission, but you do not have a right to resist or obstruct the officer if they search your vehicle anyway. The driver of a stopped vehicle must produce a driver license, proof of insurance, and vehicle registration when stopped by law enforcement. If a driver does not produce these documents, officers may conduct a limited search for them. An officer may also request the names or identification of passengers. Passengers can decline that request, but under some circumstances the passengers may be required to identify themselves anyway. If passengers do not want to produce their identification, they should clearly say so. Passengers should not interfere with the officers' duties in conducting the traffic stop, and if an officer demands identification, passengers should not interfere with the officer's actions. During a traffic stop, an officer can legally require the driver and all passengers to exit or stay inside the vehicle. If you are told to exit the vehicle or stay inside, you must do so. In California, only federal law enforcement officers can ask you about your immigration status. California law prohibits state and local officers from asking drivers or passengers about their immigration status. If a California law enforcement officer asks you about your immigration status, you can decline to answer. In general, the First Amendment protects the right of drivers and passengers to record interactions with police in public spaces. If you are recording, you should immediately make that clear. You do not have a right to interfere with the officer's lawful duties during the enforcement stop, and you should not reach into concealed areas to retrieve your recording device without the officer's permission. If your recording is not interfering with the officer's ability to lawfully do their job, an officer cannot confiscate your recording device, delete the recording, or destroy the device just because you are using it to record. In general, you also have the right to deny a request to unlock a cellular phone or provide a password to it, though under some circumstances such as if you are on parole you may have to give permission in response to such requests. Finally, no government employee can retaliate against you just because you recorded something in public. Even if you believe your rights were violated, you should not engage in physical resistance or violence against the officer. If an officer does something that you believe violates your rights, you can voice your objection, but you should not physically resist. Everyone has the right to be safe during a traffic stop. Your safety and the officer's safety could be jeopardized if the situation escalates with physical resistance or violence. All members of the public have a right to file a complaint against any peace officer or law enforcement agency, and it is against the law for any government employee to retaliate against you for doing so. You can file a complaint with any agency that employs the officer, whether a sheriff's office, police department, or any other law enforcement agency. You have a right to be free from discrimination based on your actual or perceived race, sex, color, ethnicity, national origin, age, religion, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, mental or physical disability, medical condition, or citizenship status. You also have other rights guaranteed by the United States and California constitutions, as well as California and federal laws. When you file a complaint, the agency that employs the officer must investigate the complaint. Links to contact information for California law enforcement agencies can be found at https://post.ca.gov/le-agencies. DMV information. Some field offices may have extended hours and may be open on Saturdays, and a few offer only driver license or identification, DL/ID, card or vehicle registration services. Behind-the-wheel exams are not offered on Saturday. To find out if your local field office has extended hours, or to find a field office location and service options, visit dmv.ca.gov or call 1-800-777-0133. Go online at dmv.ca.gov for 2. Field office locations, hours, directions, phone numbers, and acceptable forms of payment. Make appointments to visit a field office or take a driving test, except for commercial driving tests. Complete the electronic driver license and ID card application, EDL 44. Change your address with DMV records. Order personalized plates. DL/ID card information, including real ID. Vehicle/vessel registration information. Downloadable forms. Publications, handbooks, brochures, and sample tests. Senior driver information. Teen driver information. Links to other state and federal agencies. Ask DMV's Chatbot Miles DMV related questions. Renew your DL or vehicle registration. Order replacement vehicle registration card or sticker. Self-service kiosk, DMV Now kiosks, locations and acceptable forms of payment. Call 1-800-777-0133 during normal business hours to obtain/request DL and vehicle registration information, forms, and publications. Find office locations and hours. Make a driving test appointment. Speak to a DMV representative or request a call back. Call 1-800-777-0133 for automated service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to renew your vehicle registration with the Renewal Identification Number, RIN, provided on your billing notice. You can pay with a credit card or e-check. Make a field office appointment. Make sure to have your DL or ID card number, vehicle license plate number, and /or vehicle identification number, VIN, available. Persons who are deaf, hard of hearing, or persons with speech impairments can call, toll-free 1-800-368-4327 for assistance with DMV services. Only typed messages from another TTY are received and responded to at this number. Where to write? If you have any comments or suggestions regarding this publication, please send them to Department of Motor Vehicles, Customer Communications Section, MSH 165 PO Box 932345, Sacramento, California 94232, 3450. Obtaining a driver license. When you apply for an original California DL, you must present acceptable documents establishing your identity/birth date, residency, and provide your social security number, SSN, if eligible. When a document is required, with the exception of proof of residency, adhere to the following requirements. Provide a certified copy, or an unexpired original document. Provide a document containing an impressed seal or original stamped impression, if applicable. Do not provide a photocopy. A photocopy is acceptable for residency documents. Do not present self-laminated cards or documents, however, DMV may accept laminated or metal SSN cards. If you present a limited-term identity document, your DL/ID card may expire on the same date as your identity document. If the name on your document is different from the name on your driver license and ID card application, you must also bring an acceptable true full name document. Your fingerprint, signature, and photograph will also be taken. Refer to the application requirements for a basic Class C driver license section on page 6. For any other DL/ID card transaction, you must present photo identification. Examples of acceptable identity documents include U.S. birth certificate, U.S. passport, U.S. Armed Forces ID cards, certificate of naturalization, permanent resident card, or a foreign passport with a valid I-94. The I-94 expiration date must be more than 2 months from the date you visit the field office. Examples of true full name verification documents include adoption documents containing your legal name as a result of the adoption, name change documents containing your legal name both before and after, marriage certificate, certificate or registration document verifying the formation of a domestic partnership, or a dissolution of marriage/domestic partnership document containing your legal name as a result of the court order. Examples of acceptable residency documents include home utility bill, including cell phone, insurance documents, California title or registration for a vehicle or vessel, or record of a financial institution. A parent, legal guardian, or child may use a birth certificate, and a spouse or domestic partner may use a marriage certificate or domestic partner registration certificate to connect their relationship to the individual to whom the acceptable residency documents were addressed. A complete list of acceptable documents is available at dmv.ca.gov. How the Real ID Act impacts Californians. Beginning October 1, 2020, the federal government will require your DL/ID card to be Real ID compliant if you wish to use it as ID to board an airplane for domestic flights or enter military bases and most federal facilities. If you have a U.S. passport, passport card, military ID, or another form of Transportation Security Administration (TSA) approved ID, these documents will still be accepted to board an airplane. The Federal Real ID Act of 2005 was passed in response to the events of 9/11. For more on the Real ID Act, visit the Department of Homeland Security website at dhs.gov. Do I need a Real ID? The Real ID compliant DL/ID card is optional. If you have a valid U.S. passport, passport card, military ID, or other federally approved ID, you may use this as your form of ID to pass a TSA checkpoint at airports nationwide and visit a secure federal building or military installation at any time. If you know you will not be boarding a domestic flight or visiting a secure federal facility or military base, you do not need a Real ID compliant DL/ID card. You do not need a Real ID compliant DL/ID card to do any of the following: drive, vote, apply for or receive federal benefits, Veterans Affairs, Social Security Administration, SSA, etc. Enter a federal facility that does not require ID, i.e., a post office. Visit a hospital or receive life-saving services. How do I prepare to apply for a Real ID card? To apply for a Real ID card, you must do the following: provide proof of identity. Provide 2 California residency documents. Present proof of your SSN, if eligible. Note: you can request your replacement Social Security card online at ssa.gov. Note: refer to the DMV website for a complete list of acceptable Real ID compliant documents. Married, divorced, or name change. You may need to provide a name change document. A name change document, such as a marriage certificate, may be required to issue a Real ID compliant DL/ID card in your true full name. If the name on your identity document is different from the name you provided on your application, you must submit a document that establishes your true full name. For example, an adoption document that contains the legal name as a result of adoption. Name change document that contains the legal name both before and after the name change. Marriage certificate. Certificate, declaration, or registration document verifying the formation of a domestic partnership. Dissolution of marriage/domestic partnership document that contains the legal name as a result of the court action. Application requirements for a basic Class C driver license. To apply for a Class C DL, you must submit a completed and signed driver license and ID card application, DL44/EDL44, form. The EDL44 can be completed online in advance. Signing this form means you agree to submit to a chemical test to determine the alcohol or drug content of your blood when requested by a peace officer. If you refuse to sign this statement, DMV will not issue a permit or DL. Present an acceptable document, establishing your identity and birth date. Provide your true full name. Present an acceptable residency document, Provide your SSN, if eligible, which will be electronically verified with the SSA. Pay a non-refundable application fee. The fee is good for 12 months. If all requirements are not met within 12 months, the application will no longer be valid and you must reapply. Allows you 3 attempts to pass each of the required knowledge tests. If you fail the knowledge test 3 times, the application is no longer valid and you must reapply. Allows you 3 attempts at the driving test. Important, if you fail the driving test, you must pay a retest fee for subsequent test, and schedule the driving test for another day. If you fail the driving test 3 times, the application will no longer be valid and you must reapply. Pass a vision test with or without corrective lenses, with visual acuity better than 20/200 in at least one eye without the use of a bioptic telescopic lens or similar bioptic device to meet the minimum vision acuity standard, CVC 12805, A2. Have your photograph taken. Give a fingerprint scan. Sign your name. Note, please visit dmv.ca.gov for a complete list of DL application fees. Adults permit requirements. If you are at least 18 years old, meet the application requirements, and pass the required tests, you may be issued a California instruction permit. You must have an instruction permit while learning to drive. Your accompanying driver must be 18 years old or older and have a valid California DL. This person must be seated close enough to take control of the vehicle at any time. An instruction permit does not permit you to drive alone, not even to a DMV field office to take the driving test. If you want to obtain professional driver education and training, refer to the driving schools and mature driver program sections on pages 23 and 24. To get a motorcycle permit, you must complete the application requirements. Submit a certificate of completion of the motorcycle training, DL 389, form, if under 21 years old. Pass a knowledge test. Note, if you have a motorcycle permit, you cannot carry passengers, must ride during daylight hours only, and cannot ride on the freeway. Adults driver license requirements. If you are at least 18 years old and have never been licensed, you must meet the following criteria. Comply with the requirements for a driving permit. When you are ready, make an appointment to take the behind-the-wheel driving test. When you report for the driving test, bring your instruction permit with you. Pass the behind-the-wheel driving test. If you fail the test, you must pay a retest fee for a second or subsequent test and schedule a behind-the-wheel driving test for another day. If you have an out-of-state DL, you must complete all the steps required for an instruction permit. Bring your valid out-of-state DL to DMV. Your out-of-state DL will be invalidated and returned to you unless you are applying for a commercial DL, CDL. Note, the behind-the-wheel driving test for holders of out-of-state or U.S. territory DLS are normally waived. However, DMV may require a behind-the-wheel driving test for any type of DL application. Behind-the-wheel driving tests are mandatory for out-of-country DL holders. Class C DL. Driver license classes. You may drive a 2-axle vehicle with a gross vehicle weight rating, GVWR, of 26,000 pounds, lbs, or less. 3-axle vehicle weighing 6,000 pounds, or less gross. House car 40 feet or less in length. 3-wheel motorcycle with 2 wheels located in the front or back. Van pool vehicle designed to carry more than 10 persons, but no more than 15 persons, including the driver. Note, a driver of a van pool may operate with a Class C license but shall possess evidence of a medical examination required for a Class B license when operating van pool vehicles. In the van pool vehicle, the driver must keep a statement, signed under penalty of perjury, that they have not been convicted of reckless driving, drunk driving, or hit and run in the last 5 years, CVC 12804.9, J. You may tow a single vehicle with a GVWR of 10,000 pounds or less, including a tow dolly, if used, with a vehicle weighing 4,000 pounds or more unladen. You may tow a trailer coach or fifth-wheel travel trailer under 10,000 pounds. GVWR when towing is not for compensation. Fifth-wheel travel trailer exceeding 10,000 pounds, but under 15,000 pounds. GVWR, when towing is not for compensation, and with endorsement. A farmer or employee of a farmer may drive any combination of vehicles with a GVWR of 26,000 pounds or less, if used exclusively in agricultural operations and not for hire or compensation. Note: Class C licensees may not tow more than one vehicle. A passenger vehicle, regardless of weight, may not tow more than one vehicle. A motor vehicle under 4,000 pounds unladen weight may not tow any vehicle weighing 6,000 pounds or more gross, CVC 21715B. Other classes of DLS/endorsements are Non-Commercial Class A, Non-Commercial Class B, Commercial Class A, Commercial Class B, Commercial Class C, Motorcycle Class M1, Motorcycle Class M2. Commercial endorsements, doubles/triples, hazardous materials, passenger transportation, tank vehicle, ambulance driver certificate, school bus endorsement, tow truck driver certificate, verification of transit training certificate, farm labor vehicle certificate, firefighter endorsement. Note: commercially licensed firefighters must submit a medical examination report, MER, Form MCSA 5875, and medical examiner's certificate, MEC, Form MCSA 5876. Non-commercially licensed firefighters may submit a self-certifying health questionnaire, DL 546. The examination process. Where to take the tests. You may take the knowledge, vision, and behind-the-wheel driving tests at most DMV field offices that provide DL services. To save time, make an appointment at dmv.ca.gov or call 1-800-777-0133 during normal business hours. Note: knowledge and vision tests are required when you apply for an original DL or upgrade to a different class of DL. DMV examinations. Your DL examinations include a vision test. Bring your eyeglasses or wear contact lenses if required for driving. A knowledge test. DMV utilizes an automated touchscreen terminal, TST, to administer the knowledge test. A behind-the-wheel driving test, if required. For the driving test, you must have an appointment and bring your old DL or instruction permit, if you have one. A licensed driver age 18 years old or older with a valid California DL. Proof that the vehicle is properly insured. Important, if you use a rental vehicle, the driving test applicant must be listed on the rental contract. The contract must not exclude driving tests. A vehicle that is safe to drive, and has valid registration. The vehicle's brake lights, horn, parking brake, and turn signals must work properly. The vehicle cannot have bald tires, which would have less than 1/32 inch tread depth in any two adjacent grooves. The driver's side window must roll down. The windshield must allow a full unobstructed field of vision for you and the examiner. There must be at least 2 rear view mirrors, one must be on the left outside of the vehicle. You will be asked to locate the controls for the vehicle's headlights, windshield wipers, defroster, and emergency flashers. You must demonstrate how to use the parking brake. Note, the behind-the-wheel driving test will be rescheduled if the vehicle does not meet the above requirements or if you refuse to use your seat belt during the driving test. Technology, such as backup cameras and self-parking, cannot solely be used on a driving test. For your safety, no pets or passengers, other than the DMV examiner or other authorized personnel, are permitted in the vehicle during your driving test. For more information, refer to the Preparing for Your Driving Test, FFDL 22, Fast Facts brochure, DMV videos, and sample tests available at dmv.ca.gov. Cheating. The use of testing aids is strictly prohibited. This includes, but is not limited to, the California Driver Handbook, cheat sheets, and or electronic communication devices such as a cell phone, handheld computer, etc. If any testing aid is used during the knowledge test, the knowledge test will be marked as a failure. An action may also be taken by DMV against your driving privilege or the driving privilege of anyone else who assists you in the examination process. Special Section Minors. Minors Permit Requirements. A minor is a person under 18 years old. Minors must have their applications, for a DL or any change of DL class, signed by their parent, S, or legal guardian, S. If both parents/guardians have joint custody, both must sign. Note, minors may not work as a driver for pay and they may not drive a school bus containing pupils. To get a permit you must be at least 15½ years old. Complete the driver license and ID card application, DL44/EDL44, form. Have your parent, S, or legal guardian, S, sign the application. Note, you can fill out the driver license and ID card application online, and your parent, S, or legal guardian, S, can sign the form electronically. Pass the knowledge test. If you fail the test, you must wait 7 days, 1 week, not including the day the test was failed, before retaking the test. If you are 17½ years old, you will need to provide proof that you completed driver education, certificate of completion of driver education, or are enrolled and participating in an approved integrated driver education/driver training program, certificate of enrollment in an integrated classroom driver education and driver training program. For more information, refer to the Provisional Licensing, FFDL 19, Fast Facts brochure at dmv.ca.gov. The provisional permit is not valid until you start your behind-the-wheel driver training with an instructor or reach 17½ years old. If you have a permit and plan to drive outside of California, check licensing requirements in that state or country. Note, if you are at least 17½ years old, you may obtain a permit without completing driver education or driver training. However, you cannot get a DL before you are 18 years old. Minors permit restrictions. Your permit is not valid until you begin driver training. Your instructor will sign the permit to validate it. You must practice with a licensed California driver, parent, guardian, driving instructor, spouse, or adult 25 years old or older. The person must sit close enough to you to take control of the vehicle at any time. A provisional permit does not allow you to drive alone at any time, not even to a DMV field office to take a driving test. Minors driver license requirements. You must be at least 16 years old. Prove that you have completed both driver education and driver training. Have had a California instruction permit or an instruction permit from another state for at least 6 months. Refer to the out-of-state minors section on page 15. Provide parent, S, or guardian, S, signature, S, on your instruction permit certifying that you have completed 50 hours of supervised driving practice. 10 hours must be night driving, as outlined in the California Parent Teen Training Guide, DL 603. Visit the teen website at dmv.ca.gov or call 1-800-777-0133 to request this booklet. Pay a non-refundable application fee. Note, the fee is good for 12 months. If all requirements are not met within 12 months, the application is no longer valid and you must reapply. Pass each of the required knowledge tests. If you fail the knowledge test 3 times, the application is no longer valid and you must reapply. Pass the driving test, within 3 attempts. Important, if you fail the driving test, you must pay a retest fee, schedule a subsequent test, and wait 14 days, 2 weeks, not including the day the test was failed before you are retested. If you fail the driving test 3 times, the application is no longer valid and you must reapply. Once you have your provisional DL, you may drive alone, as long as you do not have any collisions or traffic violations on your driving record. During the first 12 months after you are licensed, you cannot drive between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. and cannot transport passengers under 20 years old, unless accompanied by a California licensed parent or guardian, a California licensed driver 25 years old or older, or a licensed or certified driving instructor. When you become 18 years old, the provisional part of your DL ends. You may keep your provisional photo DL or pay a fee for a duplicate DL without the word provisional. Exceptions: minors driver license restrictions. The law allows the following exceptions when reasonable transportation is not available and it is necessary to drive. A signed note explaining the necessity to drive and the date when this driving necessity will end must be kept in your possession for the following exceptions. Emancipated minors are excluded from this requirement. Medical necessity to drive when reasonable transportation alternatives are inadequate. The note must be signed by a physician with the diagnosis and probable date of recovery. Schooling or school-authorized activity. The note must be signed by the school principal, dean, or designee. Employment necessity and the need to operate a vehicle as part of your employment. The note must be signed by the employer verifying employment. The necessity to drive an immediate family member. The note must be signed by your parent, S, or a legal guardian, S, stating the reason and probable end date of the necessity to drive the immediate family member. Exception: these requirements do not apply to an emancipated minor. Emancipated minors must provide DMV with court documents showing that the court has granted a petition for emancipation and provide a California Insurance Proof Certificate, SR22/SR1P, form in lieu of their parent, S, or guarantor, S, signature, S. Emancipated minors are not exempt from the Integrated Driver Education and Driver Training Program requirements. Out-of-state minors. All out-of-state minor applicants must comply with the application requirements outlined in the Application Requirements for a Basic Class C Driver License section on page 6 and must have parent, S, or legal guardian, S, signature on the driver license and ID card application, DL44/EDL44, form. Out-of-state minors permit. Out-of-state minors permit applicants must meet the requirements listed in the Minors Permit Requirements section on page 12. In addition, if your driver education and driver training courses were taken in a state other than California, DMV may accept it to secondary schools other than California schools. DL33, form completed by the out-of-state secondary school. You may obtain a DL33 at your local DMV field office or by calling DMV at 1-800-777-0133. Send the DL33 to your out-of-state secondary school and ask them to complete and return it to you. Out-of-state minor's driver license. You will be asked to present your out-of-state DL and pass a knowledge test as part of the application process. The behind-the-wheel driving test for holders of out-of-state DLS are normally waived. However, DMV may require a behind-the-wheel driving test for any type of DL application. Note: out-of-state minor applicants are subject to all provisional restrictions per California law for the first year of the DL or until they turn 18 years old. Actions against the provisional driver license. Teenagers as a group average twice as many collisions as adult drivers, while driving only half as many miles. The teenage collision rate per mile is 4 times greater than the adult driver collision rate per mile. Traffic deaths of new drivers are deadly combinations of their inexperience driving, lack of familiarity with the vehicle, and their need to push themselves and the vehicle to the limit. Keeping your provisional driver license. DMV will track your driving record and take actions based upon any collisions or violations as follows. If you get a traffic ticket and fail to appear in court, DMV will suspend your driving privilege until you appear in court. If you have one at-fault collision or conviction of a traffic law violation within 12 months, DMV will send you a warning letter. If you have 2 at-fault collisions or convictions, or combination, of a traffic law violation within 12 months, you cannot drive for 30 days, unless accompanied by your licensed parent or other licensed adult who is at least 25 years old. If you have 3 at-fault collisions or convictions, or any combination, of a traffic law violation within 12 months, you will be suspended for 6 months and placed on probation for 1 year. If you have 4 or more at-fault collisions or point-count convictions of traffic law violations while on probation, you will be suspended again. Traffic law violations resolved in juvenile court are also reported to DMV. If you are convicted of using alcohol or a controlled substance and you are between 13 to 21 years old, the court orders DMV to suspend your DL for 1 year. If you do not have a DL, the court orders DMV to delay your eligibility to apply for a DL. You may also be required to complete a DUI program. Any restriction, suspension, or probation will continue for its full term past your 18th birthday. Other, stronger actions may be taken if your driving record justifies them. Remember, if your driving privilege has been suspended or revoked, you may not drive. Minors and cell phones. It is against the law for a minor to use a cell phone or electronic wireless communications device while driving. Do not answer calls or send/respond to text messages. Convictions for violations of this law are subject to fines. Exceptions: you may use a cell phone only to contact law enforcement, a healthcare provider, the fire department, or another emergency entity in an emergency situation when driving. Miscellaneous licensing information. To replace a lost/stolen or damaged driver license. If your DL is lost, stolen, or damaged, you must go to a DMV field office, complete the DL44/EDL44 form. The EDL44 can be completed online in advance, and pay a fee for the replacement. You should also present a photo ID. If DMV cannot confirm your identity, you will not be issued a temporary DL. If you are a minor, your parent, or guardian, must sign the application. If both parents/guardians have joint custody, both must sign. Once a replacement DL is issued, the previous DL is no longer valid. Destroy the old DL if you find it later. Name changes. When you legally change your name because of marriage or other reasons, be sure to change your name with SSA before coming into DMV. Bring your DL to DMV in person, along with your marriage certificate or other acceptable verification of your true full name. Refer to the Obtaining a Driver License section on page 4. You must complete DL44/EDL44 form. The EDL44 can be completed online in advance, and pay the applicable fee. DMV will electronically verify your name, birth date, and SSN with SSA. A new photograph, fingerprint, and signature will be taken. Gender category changes. Effective January 1, 2019, customers may apply for a gender category of male, female, or non-binary. You are no longer required to provide a medical certification and authorization, DL 329, form, completed by a physician or psychologist who certifies to an applicant's gender identification or demeanor. If you wish to obtain a DL/ID card with a gender category that differs from the gender on your identity document or existing California DL/ID card, you must present, in person, a completed gender category request, DL 329S, form to DMV. Driver license renewals. DMV sends a renewal notice to your address of record approximately 120 days before your DL expires. Follow the instructions on the renewal notice. If you do not receive a renewal notice, go online or call to make an appointment to renew your DL, refer to page 8. Note, you will not receive a renewal notice if you have a pending application on file with DMV. Qualified drivers may be eligible to renew their DL on the DMV website at dmv.ca.gov or by mail. DMV may issue a DL for 5 years. The DL expires on your birthday in the year shown on the DL, unless otherwise indicated. It is against the law to drive with an expired DL. A driving test may be required as part of any DL application. Driving tests are not required simply because of age. If DMV cannot confirm your identity, you will not be issued a temporary DL. For other types of DLS, refer to the California Commercial Driver Handbook, DL 650, Recreational Vehicles and Trailers Handbook, DL 648, or California Motorcycle Handbook, DL 665. Renewal by mail or internet. If you have not received 2 consecutive 5-year DL extensions, you may be eligible to renew by mail or internet without taking a knowledge test, if your current DL expires before age 70. You do not have a probationary DL, CVC 14250. You have not violated a written promise to appear in court within the last 2 years. You are not suspended for driving with an illegal blood alcohol concentration, BAC, level, or refusing or failing to complete a chemical or preliminary alcohol screening test within the last 2 years. You do not have a total violation point count greater than 1 point. Driver license extension. If you are away from California, up to 1 year, you may request a free 1-year extension before your DL expires. Mail your request to DMV, PO Box 942890 Sacramento, California, 94290-0001. Include your name, DL number, birth date, California residence address, and out-of-state address. Limited-term drivers are not eligible for this extension. Driver license in your possession. You must always keep your DL with you when you drive. You must show it to any peace officer who asks to see it. If you are in a collision, you must show it to the other driver, involved. Refer to the Involved in a Collision section on page 95. Address changes. When you move, you must give DMV your new address within 10 days. There is no fee to change your address. You may notify DMV of your address change for your DL/ID card and vehicle, online at dmv.ca.gov. You may also download a change of address, DMV-14, form, or call DMV at 1-800-777-0133 to request a DMV-14 be mailed to you. Mail the completed DMV-14 to the address on the form. A new DL/ID card is not issued when you change your address. You may type or write your new address on a small piece of paper, sign and date the paper, and carry it. Do not use tape or staples with your DL/ID card. If you change your address at a field office, a DMV representative will give you a change of address card, DL43, to complete and carry with your DL/ID card. Important: change your address with the U.S. Postal Service to ensure DMV correspondence is forwarded to your current mailing address. It is your responsibility to ensure DMV has your correct mailing address on record. Vision. DMV screens all drivers to measure vision with or without corrective lenses. If you do not meet DMV's vision standard, 20/40, you will be required to visit a vision specialist. The DMV representative will give you a report of vision examination, DL62, form to have completed by a vision specialist. If your vision is not worse than 20/70, DMV may issue you a 30-day temporary DL to allow you time to have your vision checked. All drivers applying for a DL must have a visual acuity better than 20/200, best corrected, in at least one eye before a DL can be issued. You are prohibited from using a bioptic telescope or similar lens to meet the 20/200 visual acuity standard in the better eye. Medical information card. Call 1-800-777-0133 to obtain a medical information card, DL390, to list your blood type, allergies, physician name, and other medical information. It can be carried with your DL/ID card. Organ and tissue donation. You may sign up to donate your organs and tissue for transplantation after your death. When you apply for or renew your DL/ID card and check the Yes, Add or Keep My Name on the Donor Registry box, your name will be added to the Donate Life California Organ Tissue Donor Registry and a pink donor dot will appear on your DL/ID card. You must mark Yes to maintain the donor dot on your DL/ID card. When you check the I do not wish to register to be an organ or tissue donor at this time box, your name will not be removed from the registry. If you wish to remove your name from the registry, you must contact Donate Life California. DMV can remove the donor dot from your DL/ID card but cannot remove you from the registry. You may also provide a $2 voluntary contribution to support and promote organ and tissue donation by checking the Would you like to make a voluntary $2 contribution? box. As outlined in the California Anatomical Gift Act, your authorization is legally binding and, unless the donor is under 18 years old, your decision does not require the consent of any other person. For registered donors under 18 years old, the legal guardian shall make the final donation decision. You may limit your donation to specific organs or tissues, place usage restrictions, for example, transplantation or research, obtain more information about donation, change or update your donor status or information including your name and address, or remove your name from the registry on the Donate Life California website at donatelifecalifornia.org. Veteran designation and benefit information. For an additional $5 fee, DMV offers those who proudly served our country the option to mark the face of their DL/ID card with the word veteran to indicate they served in the U.S. Armed Forces. In addition, DMV will refer veterans to the California Department of Veterans Affairs to determine eligibility for benefits acquired while serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. How can I get veterans designation? Visit County Veterans Service Officers, CVSO, to obtain a signed, Certified Veteran Status Verification Form, VSD-001. Visit a DMV field office to request the veteran's designation be added to the DL/ID card. For more information, visit the DMV website at dmv.ca.gov or refer to the Are You a Veteran? FFDL 43, Fast Facts Brochure. The California Department of Veterans Affairs, CalVET, Connect program would like you to receive information regarding benefits, such as employment, housing, education, and health care services for which you may be entitled. Check the If you have served, would you like to receive benefits information for which you may be eligible? Box on the DL44/EDL44 form. DMV will transmit your name and mailing address to CalVET for them to forward you benefits information. To locate a CalVET office near you, refer to your local government listing in your telephone book, visit the Calvet website at calvet.ca.gov, or visit dmv.ca.gov. Register to vote. You may register to vote or update your voter registration with DMV when applying for an original DL/ID, renewing your DL/ID, or changing your address. For more information, visit dmv.ca.gov. Unlicensed drivers. It is against the law to loan your vehicle to a person who is unlicensed or whose driving privilege has been suspended or revoked. If an unlicensed person is caught driving your vehicle, it may be impounded for 30 days, CVC 14607.6. No person of any age may drive on a highway or in a public parking facility unless they have a valid DL or permit. The law also states that you must not employ, permit, or authorize any person to drive your vehicle on a public street or highway, unless they are licensed to drive that class of vehicle. A person must be at least 21 years old to drive most commercial vehicles for hire in interstate commerce and to transport hazardous materials or wastes. Diplomatic driver licenses. Non-residents who possess a valid diplomatic DL issued by the U.S. Department of State are exempt from California driver licensing requirements. Identification, ID, cards. DMV issues ID cards to eligible persons of any age. To obtain an original ID card, you must present an identity document, residency document, and provide your SSN. Refer to the Obtaining a Driver License section on page 4. The ID card is valid until the 6th birthday after the issue date. If you meet certain requirements for specific public assistance programs, you may be eligible to apply for a reduced fee ID card. Government or non-profit organizations determine whether an individual meets the requirements for a reduced fee ID card. Note, if you are 62 years old or older, you may obtain a free senior citizen ID card with the words Senior Identification Card indicated on the front. The senior ID card is valid until the 8th birthday after the issue date. No fee ID cards. Drivers who are no longer able to drive safely because of a physical and/or mental PNM condition may be eligible to exchange their valid DL for a no-fee ID card, if certain guidelines are met. If you are a homeless person as defined by the McKinney-Vento Act, which includes, but is not limited to, a homeless child or youth, homeless person or individual or family fleeing domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or another dangerous life-threatening condition, you may be eligible for a no-fee ID card. Visit dmv.ca.gov or call 1-800-777-0133 for additional information. Identification, ID, card renewal by mail or internet. Customers who are eligible to renew their ID card by mail or internet will receive a notice approximately 120 days before the expiration of their current ID card. Reduced fee ID cards cannot be renewed by mail or internet. Driving schools. When learning to drive, you should seek qualified instruction, either with a public or private high school or a state-licensed professional driving school. DMV licenses professional schools and instructors in California that meet rigid qualifying standards. Schools must carry liability insurance, hold a bond, and maintain complete records for DMV inspection. Vehicles are subject to annual inspection. Instructors must pass a written examination every 3 years or show proof of continuing education in the traffic safety field. If you use the services of a professional driving school, ask to see the instructor's ID card. Visit dmv.ca.gov or refer to the Selecting a Driving School for Driver Education and Driver Training, /DT, FFDL 33, Fast Facts brochure for additional information. Mature Driver Program. The Mature Driver Program is an 8-hour course for drivers 55 years old and older. This course covers a variety of topics of special interest to the mature driver and is available from DMV-approved course providers. Visit the DMV website for more information. Your insurance company may offer discounts for those who complete the class and receive a completion certificate. The certificate is valid for 3 years and can be renewed by completing a 4-hour course. Pedestrian responsibilities. Pedestrians, including joggers, should be aware of traffic conditions. Watch out for drivers before assuming you have the right of way when crossing a street. Be aware that hybrid and electric vehicles are virtually silent when running on electric power, and you may not hear them approaching an intersection. Yield the right of way to vehicles when you cross a street between intersections and in areas with no pedestrian crosswalks or signals. Remember, making eye contact with a driver does not mean the driver will yield the right of way. Do not suddenly leave a curb or other safe place, and walk or run into the path of a vehicle close enough to be a danger to you. This is true even though you are in a crosswalk. The law states that drivers must always yield the right of way to a pedestrian, but if the driver cannot stop in time to avoid hitting you, you still run the risk of being hit. Avoid distractions as a pedestrian. Do not use your cell phone or electronic wireless communications device while moving. To avoid becoming a hazard to vehicles and other pedestrians, you should be aware of your surroundings at all times. Always obey traffic signal lights. Whether the intersection has pedestrian or traffic signal lights, you must obey the pedestrian rules. Refer to pages 29 and 30. At an intersection where traffic is not controlled by traffic signal lights, drivers are required to yield the right of way to pedestrians within any crosswalk, marked or unmarked. When a traffic signal light changes to green or walk, look left, right, and then left again, and yield the right of way to any vehicle in the intersection before the traffic signal light changes. If the traffic signal light begins blinking or changes to don't walk, or to an upraised hand after you have gone part way across a divided street, you may continue across the street. Do not stop or delay traffic unnecessarily while crossing a street. Pedestrians are not permitted on any toll bridge or highway crossing, unless there is a sidewalk and signs stating pedestrian traffic is permitted. If there are no sidewalks, walk facing oncoming traffic. Do not walk or jog on any freeway where signs tell you that pedestrians are not allowed. Do not walk or jog in a bike lane unless there is no sidewalk. At night, make yourself more visible by wearing white, light, or reflective material clothing. Carrying a flashlight. New technology. Your vehicle may have technology that allows you to have cell phone conversations or play music from an electronic wireless communications device. With the increase of such technologies, it is important to remain aware of road conditions and avoid driving distractions. Here are some tips to reduce technological distractions. Do not input navigation instructions while driving. Do not adjust music or other electronic wireless communications devices while driving. For navigation devices, use the audio navigation function when possible. Note, technology, such as backup cameras and self-parking, cannot solely be used on a driving test. The purpose of a driving test is to ensure your ability to drive. Occupant protection. Seat belts. Wearing seat belts is the law. Always fasten your seat belt and make sure all your passengers are using seat belts or child restraints. Wearing seat belts, both lap belt and shoulder harness, will increase your chance of survival in most types of collisions. It is important to wear the seat belt correctly. A shoulder harness is worn across the shoulder and chest with minimal, if any, slack. The shoulder harness should not be worn under the arm or behind the back. Wearing the harness the wrong way could cause serious internal injuries in a collision. The lap belt should be adjusted so that it is snug and lies low across your hips after fastening. Otherwise, in a crash, you could slide out of the belt, resulting in injury or death. Pregnant women should wear the lap belt as low as possible under the abdomen, and the shoulder strap should be placed between the breasts and to the side of the abdomen's bulge. You and all passengers must wear a seat belt, or you and/or your passenger may be cited. If the passenger is under 16 years old, you may be cited if they are not wearing their seat belt. The graphic illustrates what can happen in a collision. If you are struck from the side, the impact could push you back and forth across the seat. Seat belts and shoulder harnesses keep you in a better position to control the vehicle and may minimize serious injuries. The graphic also illustrates how, when you collide, your vehicle stops, but you keep going at the same speed you were traveling, until you hit the dashboard or windshield. Child restraint system and safety seats. Your child must be secured by either a federally approved child passenger restraint system or a safety belt depending on their height and age. Children under 2 years old must be secured in a rear-facing child passenger restraint system unless the child is 40 pounds or more, or 3 feet 4 inches or taller. Children under 8 years old, or who are less than 4 feet 9 inches tall, must be properly secured in a federally approved child passenger restraint system. Children under 8 years old may ride in the front seat of a vehicle in a federally approved child passenger restraint system under the following instances. There is no rear seat. The rear seats are side-facing jump seats. The rear seats are rear-facing seats. The child passenger restraint system cannot be installed properly in the rear seat. All rear seats are already occupied by children 7 years old or younger. Medical reasons require the child to not ride in the back seat. A child may not ride in the front seat of an airbag-equipped vehicle if they are in a rear-facing child passenger restraint system. Children who are 8 years old or older or who have reached at least 4 feet 9 inches in height may use a properly secured safety belt meeting federal standards. Note: child passenger restraint system installation may be checked by contacting local law enforcement agencies and fire departments. As your child grows, check to see if the child passenger restraint system is the right size for your child. Riding safely with airbags. Airbags are a safety feature that help keep you safer than a seat belt alone. Ride at least 10 inches, measured from the center of the steering wheel to your breastbone, from the airbag cover, if you can do this while maintaining full control of the vehicle. If you cannot safely sit 10 inches away from the airbag, contact your vehicle dealer or manufacturer for advice about additional ways of moving back from your airbag. Passengers should also sit at least 10 inches away from the passenger side airbag. Important: children seated next to a side airbag may be at risk of serious or fatal injury. Unattended children in motor vehicles. It is never a good idea to leave a child unattended in a vehicle. It is illegal to leave a child 6 years old or younger unattended in a motor vehicle. Note: a child may be left under the supervision of a person 12 years old or older. Distracted driving. Anything that prevents you from operating your vehicle safely is a distraction. The following are the 3 types of driver distractions. Visualize off the road. Cognitive mind off the road. Manual hands off the steering wheel. Some actions that cause distracted driving and lead to vehicle collisions are: using a handheld device, for example, cell phone or music device. Reaching for an object inside the vehicle. Looking at an object or event outside of the vehicle. Reading. Eating. Applying cosmetics, makeup. More information regarding collisions and distractions can be found in the Driver Distractions, FFDL 28, Fast Facts brochure. Hot weather risks. It is dangerous and illegal to leave children and/or animals in a hot vehicle. After sitting in the sun, even if a window is slightly opened, the temperature can rise rapidly inside a parked vehicle. Dehydration, heat stroke, and death can result from overexposure to the heat. California Penal Code 597.7 prohibits leaving or confining an animal in an unattended motor vehicle under conditions that endanger the health or well-being of an animal due to heat. Traffic controls. Traffic signal lights. Solid red. A red traffic signal light means stop. You can make a right turn against a red traffic signal light after you stop. Yield to pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles close enough to be a hazard. Make the right turn only when it is safe. Do not turn if a no turn on red sign is posted. Red arrow. A red arrow means stop. Remain stopped until the green signal or green arrow appears. Do not turn against a red arrow. Flashing red. A flashing red traffic signal light means stop. After stopping, you may proceed when it is safe. Observe the right-of-way rules. Solid yellow. A yellow traffic signal light means caution. The red traffic signal light is about to appear. When you see the yellow traffic signal light, stop if you can do so safely. If you cannot stop safely, cross the intersection cautiously. Yellow arrow. A yellow arrow means the protected turning time period is ending. Be prepared to obey the next traffic signal light, which could be the green or red traffic signal light or red arrow. Flashing yellow. A flashing yellow traffic signal light warns you to proceed with caution. Slow down and be alert before entering the intersection. Yield to any pedestrians, bicyclists, or vehicles in the intersection. You do not need to stop for a flashing yellow traffic signal light. Flashing yellow arrow. This traffic signal light means turns are permitted, unprotected, but you must first yield to oncoming traffic and pedestrians and then proceed with caution. Solid green. Give the right of way to any vehicle, bicyclist, or pedestrian in the intersection. A green traffic signal light means go. If you are turning left, make the turn only if you have enough space to complete the turn before creating a hazard for any oncoming vehicle, bicyclist, or pedestrian. Do not enter the intersection if you cannot get completely across before the traffic signal light turns red. If you block the intersection, you can be cited. Green arrow. A green arrow means go. You must turn in the direction the arrow is pointing after you yield to any vehicle, bicyclist, or pedestrian still in the intersection. The green arrow allows you to make a protected turn. Oncoming vehicles, bicyclists, and pedestrians are stopped by a red traffic signal light as long as the green arrow is lighted. Traffic signal light not working, blackout. The traffic signal light is not working and or no lights are showing on the signal. Proceed cautiously as if the intersection is controlled by stop signs in all directions. Pedestrian signal lights. Pedestrian traffic signal lights show words or pictures similar to the following examples. Walk or walking person. Pedestrian traffic signal light means it is legal to cross the street. Don't walk or raised hand. Pedestrian traffic signal light means you may not start crossing the street. Flashing. Don't walk or flashing raised hand. Traffic signal light means do not start crossing the street because the traffic signal light is about to change. If a pedestrian begins crossing the street after the traffic signal light starts flashing, wait until the pedestrian has crossed the street before proceeding. Pedestrian traffic signal lights may also show numbers to indicate how many seconds remain for crossing. These pedestrian traffic signal lights allow pedestrians the flexibility to speed up if the crossing phase is about to expire. Pedestrian phases, also called pedestrian scrambles, are a series of crisscross, diagonal crosswalks that allow pedestrians to cross in any direction at the same time, including diagonally across the intersection. These signals stop all vehicle traffic during the scramble phase. Some pedestrian traffic signal lights may provide a beeping or chirping sound or a verbal message. These traffic signal lights are designed to help blind or visually impaired pedestrians cross the street. At many traffic signal lights, you need to push the pedestrian button to activate the walk or walking person pedestrian traffic signal light. If there are no pedestrian signals, obey the vehicle traffic signal lights. Traffic signs. The shape and color of a sign offers you a clue about the information contained on the sign. Here are the common shapes used. An 8-sided red stop sign indicates that you must make a full stop whenever you see this sign. Stop at the white limit line, a wide white line painted on the street, or before entering the crosswalk. If a limit line or crosswalk is not painted on the street, stop before entering the intersection. Check traffic in all directions before proceeding. A 3-sided red yield sign indicates that you must slow down and be ready to stop, if necessary, to let any vehicle, bicyclist, or pedestrian pass before you proceed. A square red and white regulatory sign indicates that you must follow the sign's instruction. For example, the do not enter sign means do not enter a road or off-ramp where the sign is posted, usually on a freeway off-ramp. The wrong way sign may or may not be posted with the do not enter sign. If you see one or both of these signs, drive to the side of the road and stop. You are going against traffic. When safe, back out or turn around and return to the road you were on. At night, if you are going the wrong way, the road reflectors will shine red in your headlights. A sign that has a red circle with a red line through it always indicates no. The picture inside the circle shows what you cannot do. The sign may be shown with or without words. A yellow and black circular sign or an X-shaped sign indicates that you are approaching a railroad crossing. You must look, listen, slow down, and prepare to stop, if necessary. Let any trains pass before you proceed. Many railroad crossings will also have a blue and white sign to indicate what to do if there is an emergency on or near the tracks, or if your vehicle has stalled on the tracks. A 5-sided sign indicates that you are near a school. Stop if children are in the crosswalk. A 4-sided diamond-shaped sign warns you of specific road conditions and dangers ahead. Many warning signs are diamond-shaped. For more information, visit dot.ca.gov. A white rectangular sign indicates that you must obey important rules. Some warning signs have a fluorescent yellow-green background. These signs warn of conditions related to pedestrians, bicyclists, schools, playgrounds, school buses, and school passenger loading zones. Obey all warning signs regardless of their shape or color. Refer to pages 32 and 33 for examples. Laws and rules of the road. Right-of-way rules. General information. Never assume other drivers will give you the right-of-way. Respecting the right-of-way of others is not limited to situations such as yielding to pedestrians in crosswalks, or watching carefully to ensure the right-of-way of bicyclists and motorcyclists. Yield your right-of-way when it helps to prevent collisions. Pedestrians. A pedestrian is a person on foot or who uses a conveyance such as roller skates, skateboard, etc., other than a bicycle. A pedestrian can also be a person with a disability using a tricycle, quadricycle, or wheelchair for transportation. If you approach a pedestrian crossing at a corner or other crosswalk, even if the crosswalk is in the middle of the block, at a corner with or without traffic signal lights, whether or not the crosswalk is marked by painted lines, you are required to exercise caution and reduce your speed. Or stop if necessary, to ensure the safety of the pedestrian. Do not pass a vehicle stopped at a crosswalk. A pedestrian you cannot see may be crossing the street. Stop and proceed when all pedestrians have crossed the street. Do not drive on a sidewalk, except to cross it to enter or exit a driveway or alley. When crossing, yield to all pedestrians. Do not stop in a crosswalk. You will place pedestrians in danger. Remember, if a pedestrian makes eye contact with you, they are ready to cross the street. Yield to the pedestrian. Allow sufficient time to cross the street for older pedestrians, disabled pedestrians, pedestrians with young children. Obey signs pertaining to pedestrians. Examples include: when a blind person pulls in their cane and steps away from the intersection, this gesture usually means for you to go. Additional information regarding blind pedestrians can be found on page 80. Important: blind pedestrians rely on the sound of your vehicle to become aware of your vehicle's presence, and the sound of the pedestrian signal to know when they are able to safely cross the street. It is important that you stop your vehicle within 5 feet of the crosswalk. Drivers of hybrid or electric vehicles must remain especially aware that the lack of engine or electric motor noise may cause a blind pedestrian to assume there is not a vehicle nearby. Crosswalks. A crosswalk is the part of the roadway set aside for pedestrian traffic. When required to stop because of a sign or signal, you must stop before the stop line, crosswalk, stop sign, or signal. You must yield to pedestrians entering or in a crosswalk. Not all crosswalks are marked. If there is a stop line before the crosswalk, the stop line must be obeyed first. Although pedestrians have the right of way, they also must abide by the rules of the road. If you approach a crosswalk while driving, you are required to exercise caution and reduce your speed to safeguard the pedestrian. You may need to stop to ensure the safety of the pedestrian, as outlined in CVC 21950. Crosswalks are often marked with white lines. Yellow crosswalk lines may be painted at school crossings. Some crosswalks have flashing lights to warn you that pedestrians may be crossing. Look for pedestrians and be prepared to stop, whether or not the lights are flashing. Intersections. An intersection is any place where one line of roadway meets another roadway. Intersections include cross streets, side streets, alleys, freeway entrances, and any other location where vehicles traveling on different highways or roads join each other. At intersections without stop or yield signs, slow down and be ready to stop. Yield to traffic and pedestrians already in the intersection or just entering the intersection. Also, yield to the vehicle or bicycle that arrives first, or to the vehicle or bicycle on your right if it reaches the intersection at the same time as you. At T intersections without stop or yield signs, yield to traffic and pedestrians on the through road. They have the right of way. When you turn left, give the right of way to all vehicles approaching that are close enough to be dangerous. Also, look for motorcyclists, bicyclists, and pedestrians. Safety suggestion: while waiting to turn left, keep your wheels pointed straight ahead until it is safe to start your turn. If your wheels are pointed to the left, and a vehicle hits you from behind, you could be pushed into oncoming traffic. When you turn right, be sure to check for pedestrians who want to cross the street and bicyclists riding next to you. On divided highways or highways with several lanes, watch for vehicles coming in any lane you cross. Turn either left or right only when it is safe. When there are stop signs at all corners, stop first and then follow the rules listed above. If you park on the side of the road or are leaving a parking lot, etc., yield to traffic before re-entering the road. Roundabouts. A roundabout is an intersection where traffic travels around a central island in a counterclockwise direction. Vehicles or bicycles entering or exiting the roundabout must yield to all traffic including pedestrians. Driving in a roundabout. Slow down as you approach the roundabout. Yield to pedestrians and bicyclists crossing the roadway. Watch for signs and/or pavement. Multiple and single lane roundabout. Markings that guide or prohibit certain movements. Enter the roundabout, heading to the right, when there is a big enough gap in traffic to merge safely. Travel in a counterclockwise direction. Do not stop or pass. Signal when you change lanes or exit the roundabout. If you miss your exit, continue around until you return to your exit. For roundabouts with multiple lanes, choose your entry or exit lane based on your destination as shown in the graphic. On mountain roads. When two vehicles meet on a steep road where neither vehicle can pass, the vehicle facing downhill must yield the right of way by backing up until the vehicle going uphill can pass. The vehicle facing downhill has the greater amount of control when backing up the hill. Speed limits. California's basic speed law means that you may never drive faster than is safe for current conditions. Regardless of the posted speed limit, your speed should depend on the number and speed of other vehicles on the road, whether the road surface is smooth, rough, graveled, wet, dry, wide, or narrow, bicyclists or pedestrians on or crossing the roadway, whether it is raining, foggy, snowing, windy, or dusty. Note, unless otherwise posted, the maximum speed limit is 55 miles per hour on a 2-lane undivided highway and for vehicles towing trailers. Reduced speeds. Heavy traffic or bad weather. You must drive slower when there is heavy traffic or bad weather. However, if you block the normal and reasonable movement of traffic by driving too slowly, you may be cited. If you choose to drive slower than other traffic, do not drive in the number 1 lane, fast lane, refer to the Choosing a Lane section on page 47. When another driver is close behind you and wishes to drive faster, you should move to the right. Towing vehicles, buses, or large trucks. When you tow a vehicle or trailer, or drive a bus or 3 or more axle truck, you must drive in the rightmost lane or in a lane specially marked for slower vehicles. If no lanes are marked and there are 4 lanes or more in your direction, you may only drive in either of the 2 lanes closest to the right edge of the road. Pedestrians, bicyclists, or other vehicles alongside you may experience sudden strong winds when passing or being passed. Slow down and pass safely, and pass only at a safe distance, 3 feet or more for bicyclists. Around children. When driving within 500 to 1,000 feet of a school while children are outside or crossing the street, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour unless otherwise posted. Also, if the school grounds have no fence and children are outside, never drive faster than 25 miles per hour. Some school zones may have speed limits as low as 15 miles per hour. Near schools, look for bicyclists and pedestrians, school safety patrols or crossing guards. Be sure to obey their directions. For the crossing guard's safety, allow them to safely get to the side of the road before driving ahead. Stop school buses and children crossing the street. Some school buses flash yellow lights when preparing to stop to let children off. All vehicles must stop. The bus. The yellow flashing lights warn you to slow down and prepare to stop. When the bus flashes red lights, located at the top, front and back of the bus, you must stop from either direction until the children are safely across the street and the lights stop flashing. The law requires you remain stopped as long as the red lights are flashing, CBC 22454. If you fail to stop, you may be fined up to $1,000 and your driving privilege could be suspended for 1 year. If the school bus is on the other side of a divided or multi-lane highway, 2 or more lanes in each direction, you do not need to stop. When red lights are flashing, there is no passing. Blind intersections. The speed limit for a blind intersection is 15 miles per hour. An intersection is considered blind if there are no stop signs at any corner and you cannot see for 100 feet in either direction during the last 100 feet before crossing. If your view is blocked, move slowly forward until you can see. Alleys. The speed limit in any alley is 15 miles per hour. Near railroad tracks. The speed limit is 15 miles per hour within 100 feet of a railroad crossing where you cannot see the tracks for 400 feet in both directions. You may drive faster than 15 mph if the crossing is controlled by gates, a warning signal, or a flagman. At railroad or train crossings, look in both directions and listen for trains. Many crossings have multiple tracks, so be ready to stop before crossing, if necessary. Cross railroad tracks only at designated crossings and only when it is safe to do so. Expect a train on any track, at any time, traveling in either direction. If you need to stop after crossing the tracks, wait until you can completely cross the tracks before proceeding. Make sure your vehicle clears the tracks before you stop. Never stop on the railroad tracks. If you are on the tracks, you risk injury or death. Watch for vehicles that must stop before they cross train tracks. These vehicles include buses, school buses, and trucks transporting hazardous loads. Remember that flashing red traffic signal lights mean stop. Stop at least 15 feet, but no more than 50 feet, from the nearest track when the crossing devices are active or a person warns you a train is coming. Stop if you see a train coming or you hear the whistle, horn, or bell of an approaching train. Do not go under lowering gates or around lowered gates. Flashing red warning lights indicate you must stop and wait. Do not proceed over the railroad tracks until the red lights stop flashing, even if the gate rises. If the gates are lowered and you do not see a train approaching, call the posted railroad emergency toll-free number or 9-1-1. Be ready to give a detailed description of your location. Light rail transit vehicle crossings. The same rules apply to light rail transit vehicle crossings as to train crossings. Note, light rail transit vehicles are very quiet and accelerate more quickly than trains. Near streetcars, trolleys, or buses, the passing speed limit, when safe to pass, is no more than 10 miles per hour. This speed limit applies at a safety zone or intersection where a streetcar, trolley, or bus is stopped and traffic is controlled by a peace officer or traffic signal light. A safety zone is marked by raised buttons or markers. on the road and set aside for pedestrians. You will most often see safety zones in areas where streetcars or trolleys and vehicles share the roadway. Business or residential districts. The speed limit is 25 miles per hour, unless otherwise posted. Near animals. If you see a sign with a picture of an animal, see example, be alert for possible animals in or near the roadway. If you see animals or livestock near the roadway, slow down and proceed with caution. Be sure to follow directions from the person in charge of the animals. If you see a stray animal in your path, slow down or stop if it's safe. Do not swerve as you may lose control of your vehicle and cause an accident. Be aware of sudden movements from the animals as they are unpredictable and may run into the roadway. Visual search. Scanning. Scanning your surroundings, keeping your eyes moving, includes keeping a safe distance around your vehicle. When another driver makes a mistake, you need time to react. Give yourself this reaction time by keeping enough space on all sides of your vehicle. This space will give you room to brake or maneuver if necessary. Know what is ahead. To avoid last-minute moves, scan the road 10-15 seconds ahead of your vehicle so you can see hazards early. Constantly staring at the vehicle or road right in front of your vehicle is dangerous. As you scan ahead, be alert for vehicles around you. Use your mirrors. Know what is behind you, so you can prepare for what is ahead. Take in the whole scene. If you only look at the middle of the road, you will miss what is happening on the side of the road and behind you. Scanning helps you to see cars, motorcycles, bicycles, pedestrians, and animals that may be in the road by the time you reach them. Signs warning of problems ahead. Signs giving you directions. Before changing lanes, look into your rearview mirror for nearby vehicles and over your shoulder to check for blind spots. See the yellow area in the image above. Know the areas of your vehicle. Green is what is ahead. Blue is what is at your side. Yellow is blind spots/no zones. Red is what is behind you. The shaded areas are your blind spots. Watch for hazards. Look beyond the vehicle ahead of you. Do not develop a fixed stare. Check your rear view mirrors so you know the position of vehicles near you. On the freeway, be ready for changes in traffic conditions. Watch for signals from other drivers. Expect merging vehicles at on-ramps and interchanges. Be prepared for rapid changes in road conditions and traffic flow. Know which lanes are clear so you can use them, if necessary. Do not be a tailgater. Many drivers follow too closely, tailgate, and are not able to see as far ahead as they should because the vehicle ahead blocks their view. If a vehicle merges in front of you too closely, take your foot off the accelerator. This gives space between you and the vehicle ahead, without having to slam on your brakes or swerve into another lane. To avoid tailgating, use the 3-second rule. When the vehicle ahead of you passes a certain point, such as a sign, count 1001, 1002, 1003. This takes approximately 3 seconds. If you pass the same point before you finish counting, you are following too closely. You should allow for more space when a tailgater is behind you. Allow extra space ahead and do not brake suddenly. Slow down gradually or merge into another lane to prevent a collision with the tailgater. Driving on slippery roads. Following motorcyclists or bicyclists on wet or icy roads, metal surfaces, for example, bridge gratings, railroad tracks, etc. And gravel. Motorcyclists and bicyclists can fall easily on these surfaces. The driver behind you wants to pass. Allow room in front of your vehicle so the driver will have space to move in front of you. Towing a trailer or carrying a heavy load. The extra weight makes it harder to stop. Following large vehicles that block your view ahead. The extra space allows you to see around the vehicle. You see a bus, school bus, or a placarded vehicle at railroad crossings. These vehicles must stop at railroad crossings. Merging onto a freeway. Know what is at your side. Anytime you come to a place where people may cross or enter your path or a line of traffic meets another, you should look to the left and right sides of your vehicle to make sure no one is coming. Always look to each side of your vehicle at intersections, crosswalks, and railroad crossings. At intersections, look both ways even if other traffic has a red traffic signal light or a stop sign. Look to the left first, since vehicles coming from the left are closer to you than vehicles coming from the right. Look to the right. Take one more look to the left in case there is a pedestrian, bicyclist, or vehicle you did not see the first time. Do not rely on traffic signal lights. Some drivers do not obey traffic signal lights. Before you enter an intersection, look left, right, and ahead for approaching traffic. To maintain enough space on each side of your vehicle, do not stay in another driver's blind spot. The other driver may not see your vehicle and could change lanes and hit you. Avoid driving directly alongside other vehicles on multi-lane streets with or without traffic in the opposite direction. Another driver might crowd your lane or change lanes without looking and crash into you. Drive either ahead of or behind the other vehicle. If possible and when safe, make room for vehicles entering freeways even though you have the right of way. At freeway exits, do not drive alongside other vehicles. A driver may decide to exit suddenly or swerve back onto the freeway. Keep a space between your vehicle and parked vehicles. Someone may step out from between them, a vehicle door may open, or a vehicle may pull out suddenly. Be careful when driving near motorcyclists or bicyclists. Always leave plenty of room between your vehicle and any motorcyclists or bicyclists. Know what is behind you. It is very important to check behind you before you change lanes. Look over your shoulder to make sure you are not getting in the way of vehicles in the lane you want to enter. Reduce your speed. Take a quick look in your mirrors. Also, check your mirrors when preparing to turn into a side road or driveway, and when stopping to pull into a parking space. Drive down a long or steep hill. Watch for large vehicles because they can gather speed very quickly. Back up. Backing up is always dangerous because it is hard to see behind your vehicle. When you are backing out of a parking space, check in front and behind the vehicle before you get in. Know where your kids are. Make sure they are away from your vehicle and in full view before moving your vehicle. If other children are nearby, make sure you can see them before backing up. Do not depend only on your mirrors or only looking out a side window. Turn and look over your right and left shoulders before you begin backing. As a safety measure, look over your right and left shoulders again while backing. Back slowly to avoid collisions. Check traffic behind you often to know if you are being tailgated, another driver is following too closely. If you are being tailgated, be careful. Brake slowly before stopping. Tap your brakes lightly a few times to warn the tailgater you are slowing down. Lose the tailgater as soon as you can. Change lanes and allow the tailgater to pass you, or slow down to allow enough space between you and the car in front of you. If this does not work, pull off the road when it is safe and let the tailgater pass. How well can you stop? If something is in your path, you need to see it in time to stop. Assuming you have good tires, brakes, and dry pavement. At 55 miles per hour, it takes about 400 feet to react and bring your vehicle to a complete stop. At 35 miles per hour, it takes about 210 feet to react and bring your vehicle to a complete stop. Adjust your driving speed to the weather and road conditions. Refer to the basic speed law in the speed limits section on page 37. Turn on your lights during the day, if it is hard to see or you cannot see at least 1,000 feet ahead of you. Lane control. Line colors. Solid yellow lines mark the center of a road used for two-way traffic. Broken yellow lines indicate that you may pass if the broken line is next to your driving lane. Two solid yellow lines indicate no passing. Never drive to the left of these lines unless you are in a carpool lane/high occupancy vehicle, HOV, lane that has a designated entrance on the left. Examples of lane markings. Solid yellow line, no passing if the solid yellow line is on your side. Double solid lines, do not pass. Broken yellow line, may pass if movement can be made safely. Instructed by construction or other signs to drive on the other side of the road because your side of the road is closed or blocked. Turning left across a single set of double yellow lines to enter or exit a driveway or private road, or make a U-turn. 2 sets of solid double yellow lines spaced 2 feet or more apart are considered a barrier. Do not drive on or over this barrier, make a left turn, or a U-turn across it, except at designated openings. See diagram. Solid white lines mark traffic lanes going in the same direction, such as one-way streets. Broken white lines separate traffic lanes on roads with 2 or more lanes in the same direction. Double white lines are 2 solid white lines that indicate a lane barrier between a regular use and a preferential use lane, such as a carpool/HOV. Never change lanes while in these lanes, wait until a single broken white line appears. You may also see these parallel lines in or near freeway on and off ramps. Choosing a lane. Traffic lanes are often referred to example of numbered traffic lanes. By number. The left or fast lane is called the number 1 lane. The lane to the right of the number 1 lane is called the number 2 lane, and then the number 3 lane, etc. Drive in the lane with the smoothest flow of traffic. If you can choose among 3 lanes, pick the middle lane for the smoothest driving. To drive faster, pass, or turn left, use the left lane. When you choose to drive slowly, enter or exit traffic on the right, turn right, park, or move off the road, use the right lane. If there are only 2 lanes in your direction, pick the right lane for the smoothest driving. Do not weave in and out of traffic. Stay in one lane as much as possible. Once you start through an intersection, keep going. If you start to make a turn, follow through. Last-minute changes may cause collisions. If you miss a turn, continue until you can safely and legally turn around. Changing lanes. Changing lanes includes moving from one lane to another, entering the freeway from an on-ramp, entering the road from a curb or the shoulder. Before changing lanes, signal, look in all your mirrors, and check traffic behind and beside you. Look over your shoulder in the direction you plan to move to make sure the lane you want is clear. Check for vehicles, motorcyclists, and bicycle traffic in your blind spot. Be sure there is enough room for your vehicle in the next lane. Passing lanes. Before you pass, look ahead for road conditions and traffic that may cause other vehicles to move into your lane. Never drive off the paved or main, traveled portion of the road or on the shoulder to pass. The edge of the main traveled portion of the road may have a painted white line on the road's surface. Passing other vehicles at crossroads, railroad crossings, and shopping center entrances is dangerous. Pass traffic on the left. You may pass on the right only when an open highway is clearly marked for 2 or more lanes of travel in your direction. The driver ahead of you is turning left and you do not drive off the roadway to pass. Never pass on the left if the driver is signaling a left turn. Carpool/high occupancy vehicles, HOV, lanes. An HOV lane is a special lane used only for carpools, buses, motorcycles, or decaled low-emission vehicles. You may use a carpool/HOV lane or on-ramp if your vehicle carries the posted minimum number of people required for the carpool lane, or you drive a low-emission or a zero-emission vehicle displaying a special DMV-issued decal. If you operate a low-emission, zero-emission, and/or hybrid vehicle, you may be exempt from all toll charges on high occupancy toll, hot, lanes. Motorcyclists may use designated carpool/HOV lanes, unless otherwise posted. Signs at the on-ramp or along the freeway tell you the minimum number of people per vehicle required for the carpool/HOV lane, S. These signs also list the days of the week and the hours when the carpool/HOV requirement applies. The pavement in this lane is marked with a diamond symbol and the words carpool lane. These lanes are also known as HOV lanes. Do not cross over double parallel solid lines to enter or exit any carpool/HOV lane except at designated entry or exit places. Center left turn lanes. A center left turn lane is located in the middle of a two-way street and is marked on both sides by two painted lines. The inner line is broken and the outer line is solid. If a street has a center left turn lane, you must use it to prepare for or make a left turn, or prepare for or make a permitted U-turn, CVC 21460.5, C. You may only drive for 200 feet in the center left turn lane. This lane is not a regular traffic lane or a passing lane. To turn left from this lane, signal, look over your shoulder, and drive completely inside the center left turn lane. Do not stop with the back of your vehicle blocking traffic. Make sure the lane is clear in both directions and then turn only when it is safe. Look for vehicles coming toward you in the same lane, preparing to start their left turn. When turning left from a side street or driveway, signal and wait until it is safe. Then you may drive into the center left turn lane. Enter traffic only when it is safe. Turnout areas and lanes. Special turnout areas are sometimes marked on two-lane roads. Drive into these areas to allow cars behind you to pass. Some two-lane roads have passing lanes. If you are driving slowly on a two-lane highway or road where passing is unsafe, and 5 or more vehicles are following, you must drive into the turnout areas or lanes to let the vehicles pass. End of lane markings. Freeway lanes, as well as some city street lanes, which are ending will usually be marked by large broken lines painted on the pavement. If you are driving in a lane marked with these broken lines, be prepared to exit the freeway or the lane to end. Look for a sign that tells you to exit or merge, etc. Yield lines. Yield lines, also known as shark's teeth, consist of a line of solid white triangles across a lane of traffic pointing towards approaching vehicles. This line indicates the point where the vehicle must yield/stop. Bicycle lanes. A bicycle lane is a designated traffic lane for bicyclists defined by pavement markings and signage. Bicycle lanes are sometimes painted a bright green color to increase visibility. There are multiple classes and types of bicycle lanes, including bike lane, established along streets adjacent to vehicle traffic, typically defined by a single solid white line that turns into a dashed line near an intersection. Buffered bike lane provides greater separation from the adjacent vehicle traffic, as well as on-street parking, by using chevron or diagonal markings. Bike route. A designated preferred route for bicyclists on streets shared with vehicle traffic, established by placing bike route signs and/or shared roadway markings. Bicycle boulevard. A designated preferred route for bicyclists on streets shared with vehicle traffic, intended to prioritize bicycle travel. Separated bikeway. Also known as a cycle track or protected bike lane, for the exclusive use of bicyclists, and physically separated from vehicle traffic. The separation may include flexible posts, grade separation, inflexible barriers, or on-street parking. Shared roadway bicycle markings, SHAROs. Alerts traffic that bicyclists are allowed to occupy this travel lane. When used appropriately, SHAROs can also help bicyclists to maintain a safe lane position. It is illegal to drive in a bicycle lane unless parking, where permitted, entering or leaving the roadway, or turning, within 200 feet of the intersection. Drivers of motorized bicycles should use caution to avoid bicyclists, and use bike lanes at a speed that is reasonable and does not endanger the safety of bicyclists.